Welcome to Greenhouse Grower to Grower, the podcast where we're shaping the future of floriculture one conversation at a time. We talk with the growers, leaders, and innovators shaping tomorrow's greenhouse industry today. From market trends, next generation plants, and innovative production, to the challenges and breakthroughs redefining what it means to grow. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower. Let's dig into what's next together. It's not just experienced growers, suppliers, and other industry members who attend events like Cultivate. This year, a group of undergrad students from North Carolina State University made their way to Columbus, Ohio for their first Cultivate experience. They walked the trade show floor, attended educational sessions, and made connections that will hopefully lead them to long careers in the industry. In this episode of the Greenhouse Grower to Goer podcast, I talked to two of these students, Alex Slepova and Symone McCoy, to get their perspectives. It's a conversation you won't want to miss, and it starts now. So, Alex and Symone, I want to first thank you for joining me today on the Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast. As we were saying before we got started here, we talk so many times to, growers and others in this industry to get their perspectives, but it's great to talk with, folks like you who might be part of this next generation of this industry. So I appreciate the time that you're taking today for this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure. So the reason that we're having this conversation is that both of you attended, I'm assuming this is your first Cultivate for each of you.
Yes.
Yes.
And thanks to Dr. Melinda Knuth at North Carolina State University, we were chatting about this, and she had mentioned that she was going to bring along some students from NC State, and I said, hey, why don't we talk to them on the podcast afterwards, going to get their thoughts. So that's kind of how this conversation got started. So before we get to Cultivate, though, I want to learn a little bit more about each of you, and we'll start with you, Alex. If you want to talk about what you're studying right now, what your main area of focus is, and maybe, I'm having this conversation now knowing that you might not necessarily know what your long-term career goals are going to be, but, what you're thinking at this point in time.
Yeah, so I'm a horticulture science student at NC State University, and so is Simone, but we have different concentrations here at North
Sure.
Carolina State. I am plant breeding and biotech.
Okay.
I currently am a undergraduate researcher within the Gauge Lab here. It's through crop and soil. And then I ideally would want to bring my long-term goal into going into grad school
Okay.
and then eventually into industry. I did talk with a lot of the big industry people at Cultivate and had a great talk of where my career goals would go, and a lot of it would be plant breeding and crop
Nice.
genetics research based. And I ideally would want to work with making crops more resilient and more sustainable within our food or just ornamentals as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's something we hear about so much more, especially as growers deal with, climate change issues. So having varieties that are more drought tolerant, cold hardy, heat tolerant, things like that. So
Yeah.
that's definitely going to be an important area of focus for the future. So, Simone,
Yeah.
what about you? What are you working on right now? What are some of your long-term goals?
So right now I'm like a rising junior majoring in agroecology, sustainable food systems,
Okay.
with a concentration of urban hort and research and production.
Oh,
But right now I work in a lab at state as a horticulture vegetable research assistant.
okay.
So and that really entails um reducing labor costs and growing like tomatoes, and also growing conventional and organic bell peppers, things like that, so
Okay. Okay.
and
Um,
for oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. So,
Um, for long term, I do wanna have my own small scale farm and running my own CSA program, which is community supported agriculture,
nice.
and eventually work with, conservation, especially for native plants on the side, so
Yeah. Well, you hear so much of a focus now on locally grown, whether it's food crops or ornamental. So that's a great goal to have, and CSA programs are a great opportunity that today's plant consumers can really take advantage of. It. Something that I don't know if people know enough about. So that's a great field to be going into. So I want to talk about then how each of you ended up at Cultivate. Then how did that process work, and then going into it, what were you hoping to accomplish heading to Columbus for Cultivate? We'll start with you, Simone, for that one.
Um, so I guess I can address, I get why I wanted to attend Cultivate, and that
Yeah.
was mainly to, like, network, because I feel like while when you're in college, the main thing you wanna do is to network and grow connections with the people that you're gonna be eventually working with that are in the same and related industry as you, and I just also wanted to be surrounded by professionals who are already well suited in the horticulture industry
Sure.
and have their own businesses and I can learn and get advice from because I feel like that's what I'm gonna need when I start my own business, and these are people
Yeah.
who can support me. So,
Okay. So for something like this, so did Dr. Knuth reach out to each of you then to get this process started? Is that how that worked?
um, well, they sent a big group message to undergrads in general, horticulture undergrads, and
Okay.
we had to apply, and we were accepted
Okay.
when we
Okay.
filled out our application.
Very nice. Alex, from your perspective, so how did you end up there then, and what were you looking to accomplish?
So yeah, after I heard that Dr. Caduth and she also did this with Jody Drager, that they were taking students to Cultivate, I immediately signed up for the sole purpose that I wanted to get more of an outlook within industry,
Yeah.
as in I feel like we're a little bit more secluded when we're just at a university. We don't get to talk much with professionals and whatnot. So I definitely wanted to get an industry side of things that would also just help me know where I wanna go, like, after grad school,
Yeah.
'cause I do know that I want to pursue grad school, whether it be a master's or a PhD, I'm not too sure yet, but going within and hearing from industry professionals and how they pursue grad school and whatnot,
Yeah.
how that might influence my master's or PhD decision, but I also ultimately just wanted to see if I could network with some industry professionals and see if there's any like opportunities where I can get involved within industry, dip my foot in the water a little bit and
Hmm.
see if I do want to pursue that route. Um I will say Cultivate did give us a lot of, like, networking opportunities, so I did meet with a lot of people. I actually just heard back from an email where they want me for an internship, so it was
Nice.
a really good experience, like, I had a lot to do there, and as somebody who isn't that focused within horticulture, I would say I'm a bit more, like, crop science based, but
Okay.
I'm not as in focused with horticulture. It was really good to just see how the community and the almost like a family Cultivate was, and how industry and academia can come together to just better horticulture in general. So that was a really fun experience and something I didn't expect coming out of Cultivate.
Oh, nice. Well, and
Yeah.
I would imagine too, I mean, you go and you have these conversations and to your point, you know, you may go in there thinking, okay, this is what I want to do, but then you have
Mhm.
a conversation with somebody on the trade show floor or in the hallway or whatever, and all of a sudden you get a completely new perspective that says, this might be something else for me to look at that I hadn't even considered to this point.
Yeah, I didn't realize how deep horticulture really goes. Like there's about every profession within there, and it's not just plants. So that was really fun to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's funny because so I look back to the first time that I went to Cultivate, and I've been in the industry or different segments of the industry for a while. I was still overwhelmed when I walked in there, and like there's this massive trade show floor, and then I look at these educational sessions, and there's 10 different things going on at the same time. I would imagine each of you kind of felt the same way when you walked in there for the first time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I can definitely say that for the both of us. I know Simone had a different experience than I did, but I walked around for hours just to talk to people, and it was not only overwhelming to just see everything, but also overwhelming to talk to people just because I don't know, me personally, I didn't know anybody there, not even
Yeah.
on our, like, area because I haven't taken many classes within horticulture as I just transferred in last year.
Okay.
So, I'm still pretty new to the program myself, and it was just it's easy to connect with people, and I just didn't know that at the beginning, and it was just so overwhelming. I was like, "Oh," by the 3rd day, I was done talking to people. It's like, "This is too much."
I feel kind of the same way, I think, and to your point too, and then people at a show like that, and in this industry as a whole, tend to be very open and willing to talk about what they do and give good information. I know, Alex, you mentioned that Simone had different perspectives. So, Simone, what was that different perspective that you had coming into things?
Um, I would say it was I would say it wasn't my first time going to something kind of like Cultivate. I've gone to
Okay.
other kind of like leadership summits and things like that.
Yeah.
So some of it wasn't exactly new, but it was just interesting to see that it was just focused on specifically on one industry. Normally, I've been to like industries that have little conferences that have different little communities, but it was nice to see how many people who love horticulture all in one place, I can say. And I feel like that was neat. And I wanted to say something, bring it back to
Yeah.
how Cultivate was like a family. I heard a quote saying, Cultivate was like one big family reunion. And I was like, it truly is like one big family reunion. I like came there and everybody was so nice to us because they really wanted us to put our best foot forward and not be shy to talk to them. And they really want us to pursue the horticulture industry, and that really spoke to me because I was like, they really care about the next generation of students who are going into horticulture. So, but it took me about 2 days just to go around the whole trade show floor itself. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was nice. I definitely hit more than 10K steps a day.
I mean, that's pretty good. I just noticed trying to walk that trade show floor, and yeah, it's almost impossible to hit every company, every booth that you want to hit. And I would imagine too, as you went along, those conversations, I would imagine, tended to happen a little more naturally as you're getting more acclimated to the show and who you're
Yeah.
talking to at the time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I the first day I tried to go about to half of the booths, and but by the second time I came around, I was already familiar with a few people
Hmm.
because the first day I went with one other person, and then the last day we went as a whole group with the students,
Okay.
and they're already familiar with us. It was just nice to see because they were already familiar with our faces because we had already spoken, and also I had met with a native plant company,
Okay.
and I also had met them at IPPS,
Oh,
and it was
nice.
great to connect with them afterwards, and I possibly might have an internship afterwards. So I just it was just nice experience.
Oh, that's great. And that sounds great for each of you, the fact that you can build something like this into, internships and then hopefully from there, whether it's with that company or not, but be able to, develop your career in this industry based on that experience. I would think that's invaluable.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it totally is. I can say for, like, a lot it was only about 10 of us, 10 or so, and, most of us were, like, really good at just talking to other companies, at least the people that don't have companies themselves
Sure.
or, like, family-owned, but I will say a lot of people are definitely higher up within, like, the ranking of who they want for interns just because of this experience, so it was very beneficial in that way.
Nice, nice. So as you both, then, walk through Cultivate, talk to people, when you leave then, and I imagine that you're going as a group afterwards, what were some of your biggest immediate takeaways? And this, I mean, and this could be both the two of you and then conversations that you had with some of your peers who probably went through very similar experiences as well.
I
Okay.
just want to probably reiterate on the fact that everybody I met just was happy to see us students succeed and was interested in us pursuing the horticulture industry because I mean, it was just it really felt like a family that I could rely on in the
Yeah.
future. And because I just I guess I can say it was like I felt like Cultivate's biggest mission was to help everybody in the industry. And
Mm.
whether that be through like educational sessions and helping people represent their business, that really resonated with me because I'm gonna be in the same footsteps 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
So and I also wanna say that a lot of their programs, like Seed Your Future, are
Mm.
amazing for students, like high school students
Yeah.
or even older who want to learn about the horticulture industry. That's a great way for them to learn about it and see if they like it or not. So I just wanted to highlight Seed Your Future too.
I'm glad you did because that's a great organization that we talk about so many times. So that's great. What about you, Alex? What about your perspective on that?
So, I would say one of my biggest takeaways was more of like a personal development that I had there. I thought that I was like very conservative and not very talkative when it came to other people. I didn't really know how to be professional in that way. And just going to Cultivate not only helped me develop better like communication skills, but it also just reinforced that I can do this and it's not difficult to network. um, and it honestly made it so much easier because of the family. We're gonna say family like 10 million times during this, but I mean, it really did like it was my first time being there, yet it felt so welcoming and just a great experience to have somebody who's brand new just show up and already feel, part of something. So I mean, all these, side things that we did as well, not only just at Cultivate, was very beneficial, and I will definitely take a lot of the people that I've met at Cultivate, like, into the future. I think I will
Mhm.
definitely know them for a pretty long time, and I probably would have never met them unless if it was at Cultivate, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely one of my biggest takeaways.
Okay. Quick question on the educational sessions. So, were you able to pick out what sessions you wanted to go to, or did anybody suggest you should go to this? Maybe you should go to this, or how did that work?
Mhm. So we had the all access pass and Dr. Knuth was like, "Oh, you can go to any educational sessions that interest you."
Okay.
Um, I mean, as long as it didn't conflict with anything else that we had going on,
Right.
that was more important. So I got to attend a microbes educational session because currently I'm studying microbes
Yeah.
within maize rhizospheres and how it like changes with nitrogen stress, and I just wanted to see how products like this are actually evolved
Yeah.
and how they're useful. It was really cool to see that educational session. It is something that then brought up many other questions, and then it took me down a rabbit hole of, like, going through the research and whatnot, so that was really fun. I even got to talk to somebody who had a similar product and had a deep conversation about microbes, and I'm not a microbiologist, but it's pretty fun, and I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I mean, the educational sessions were really useful.
Good.
They were mostly, like, business focused. I personally don't have a business, so I don't know if that's really applicable to me,
Sure.
but to other people in our group, I do think that was pretty useful as well.
Well, and it sounds like too, you can get either, as basic or as technical as you want to get
Mhm.
during conversations like that. So, you know, not being a microbiologist either, I don't know how long I could hang with a conversation about that, but I give credit to you for sticking through something like that. So,
Yeah, I really tried. It was kinda difficult when he was bringing up some big words, and I was like, "Psh, I'm very surface level here, man."
no, I get it. I get it. Simone, from your perspective, was there a particular education session that stood out for you at all?
So unfortunately, I did not get to attend any
Okay.
educational sessions, and that was mainly because when I was walking around the trade show, I tried to get in contact with as many people about
Yeah.
internships and full-time jobs after graduation.
Sure.
So, but there were a few on my mind, but a lot of it was just time conflicting, especially with the prior scheduling with the school, with the
Mm.
students that we had. So, I also want to go to a luncheon. There was, like, the women's luncheon there,
Oh
but
yeah. Yeah.
I could not go to that, but,
Okay.
um, definitely when I go next year, I will try and go to a few, educational sessions, so
Well, and as you probably experienced, I mean, you get almost just as much of an education having those conversations on the trade show floor than you would sitting in a classroom listening to somebody talk about a particular topic.
I mean, I'd even argue that I would learn more having a conversation with somebody
Hmm.
in those types of settings over the classroom. I don't know, that's just a way that I prefer to learn, and it's definitely stuck a lot more than what I would learn in the classroom, so
Sure, sure. And I'm sure it's nice for the folks you're talking to that, they're not, and not that it's bad to talk to a customer, for example, but, they're not getting another customer talking up or having another similar conversation. They get a
Yeah.
chance to really get excited about talking about what they do and, how you can learn from that. So that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of close by just asking what's next now. So you've each gone through Cultivate. You're continuing to go through your own educational process. What do you think that you might apply from some of the conversations that you've had at Cultivate to what some of your next steps might be along the way? And Alex, I'll start with you on that.
Okay. So honestly, it gave me a clear picture of where I want to take on my research and how I want to utilize that within like the lab setting because I'm very lab focused.
Yeah,
And I do really want to make an impact on agriculture, whether that be more horticulture or just crop science focused. So it definitely reminded me that science is not the only thing that's here. There's a lot more to the whole process. There's the marketing side, the business side, all the other analytical stuff that I don't have any interest in, but some people do.
yeah,
And it does take a collaboration between all these people, even like the growing companies, the breeding companies. It's just everybody has to come together and take those ideas and put it into practice. So through well, I'm thinking research wise because I'm gonna go into grad school and
yeah,
that's about all grad school is. So I mean, I will definitely take conversations that I had with personal industry leaders and how I can use their almost complaints or comments and how to incorporate that into my own research and see if I can make something easier for not only them, but for everyone.
yeah,
So that's definitely something that I would apply while moving forward is all of their comments and concerns. And then I will also be able to learn through gaining interest within industry and showing the difference between the 2, and I hope to also bring that back to the next leaders that we have, so
yeah.
everybody that's below us. They're young now, but we'll get there. So I do hope to, like, mentor somebody in that process because I know I'm not the only one having this whole question between grad school, industry, academia. Like, I know that's a very common question and concern that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
So, once I pursue into further research, academia, industry, I do want to go back and be a mentor for somebody who is looking
Nice.
for the same thing. Yeah.
Well, as you said, I mean, I love that line. We're young, but we'll get there. So
Yeah.
that applies perfectly to this. You mentioned an internship. Can I ask who you're going to be interning with?
Um, it's not like approved yet,
Okay.
but it's like I've had very good conversations with them, and it's through somebody in the Netherlands. They do a lot of biotechnological stuff
Okay.
and breeding. It's Inbrov.
Okay. Yep. I know what you're talking
Uh,
about. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I met them with Simone actually. Her and I were talking with each other, and she was talking with Stephen Page, and he was running the booth and he was like, "Oh, I'll connect you guys. Like, let me just get your emails and whatnot." And so that was he was really good for doing that because he brought us to some really good people.
Nice. Nice. Sima, what are some of your next steps coming out of Cultivate then?
Um, I would say just this is more personal, but to
Yeah.
continue what I'm doing and to stay dedicated to it because I feel that how can I say this? We have our ups and downs sometimes, and it might be a long process to what I'm trying to achieve, especially with me eventually wanting to have my own business.
Yeah.
But time passes anyways, so I might as well just stick to it because it's worth it in the end. But um,
Well, I
hmm,
think that's a great perspective, I
yeah,
mean, that's stick with it. I mean, and as you said, there's going to be challenges along the way, just like anybody has in this industry. And part of it, and for each of you, I would imagine, just kind of, making sure this is what I want to do. And as
Mhm.
we talked about, sometimes you stay on that path that you expected. Sometimes you find a different direction that you hadn't even necessarily thought of along the way, and that could lead to something, completely unexpected, but just as rewarding, I think. So,
Yeah, it
um,
definitely opened my eyes. I am now even like considering other options within horticulture other than just research and breeding. So it is a very eye-opening experience.
oh, sure, sure. Well, and for those who are listening to this, I mean, I really do think that you've just listened to two of the what will hopefully be the next generation of industry members and industry leadership, and maybe we'll reconnect. I don't want to be look too far down, but let's say 10 to 15 years down the road, when you're the ones that are bringing your own groups of students and peers and others to a show like Cultivate, and you can show them, here's what I learned along the way, and here's how my path into this industry evolved along the way. So I really appreciate each of you taking the time today to have a conversation like this.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much. I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. You can learn more about this and other topics at greenhousegrower.com, and you can also follow Greenhouse Grower on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and please leave us a rating or review as it helps other listeners find the show. The Greenhouse Grower to Grower podcast is produced by the team at Meister Media Worldwide. I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower.